Hey guys, what is going on? Your old pal CHH, come on in, welcome back. We haven't seen you guys in a while. That's probably not true. We probably saw you guys yesterday because I upload way too much. But guess what? Today's a cool day, man. We're talking about a great movie. We're talking about a legitimately great movie. We're talking about The StepFather from Scream Factory in 4K. Interestingly enough, I picked up the Blu-ray of The StepFather maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and at that point it had been out for a long time. StepFather came out so early from Scream Factory that it wasn't Scream Factory. It was actually a Shout Factory title. I think it was the heartbeat before Scream Factory happened, so I think the date on that is 2011 or 2012. So that's neither here or there really, but my point is, you know, there's always this thing about, oh, they just put out the Blu-ray of this, or, you know, that happens. I get that, but the cool thing about StepFather is just like, yeah, this is great to see an upgrade for, because the previous release is probably 12 years old at this point. So very excited about that. I'm very excited to talk about this because I'm hoping this is going to bring some new eyeballs to this movie. The StepFather, man, when you talk about movies from the 80s, there are movies that are inherently 80s, and then there are movies that are just really good movies that happen to be from the 80s. The StepFather is a movie that is just legitimately good that is from the 80s. The StepFather is a movie that could have come out in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. It doesn't matter what time it came up. It would have been made because the writing and the story of this is just so legitimately good. It's a timeless film in my opinion. The StepFather is a movie that blends the feel of a really good slasher movie, but really has the almost feel and vibe of like a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's a very brutal look at the horrors of the world and the horrors of people of the world. And what I mean by that is really the way the movie looks. This is not a super Hollywood looking film. And what I mean by that is, like, there are moments in the film where Jerry, who our character is in this movie, or Terry O'Quinn, the actor, is walking through houses that are poorly lit. And, you know, there's no lights on in the house, which was very authentic. The way you would look if you were walking through a house. There's no studio lights in the house. If you're going through a hall and there's no windows and no sunlight coming in, it's going to look kind of dark, shady. And that's the way this movie kind of looks. So it's filmed and made in such this realistic, authentic way, which really sets it apart. You know, this is not a movie like a Creep Show, for instance, where there's blues and greens and lights and all kinds of, you know, stuff going on. It's an authentic, gritty look at a serial killer, which is performed by Terry O'Quinn, which is so great. So here's the story of the StepFather. It's a serial killer, a guy who goes from family to family, changes his appearance, grows his hair out, gets a beard. And you also got to remember, this was before forensic stuff. So if you're like, how could a guy get away with that? It's actually based, this is the other thing. I was watching the special feature that's a legacy special feature, so to speak, which was done for the previous Blu-ray, where they were talking about how they came up with this movie, and the writer for this movie based this off of an actual story of a guy who basically told everybody, he kind of like set everything up. Hey, me and my family are going on vacation soon. We're going to be out for a few weeks. You're not going to be able to hear from us, blah, blah, blah. Guns his family down and then just disappears. And then changed his appearance, made himself look different, moved away, and started a new family. And then years and years later, America's Most Wanted TV show came on, and the guy got busted years later. But my point is, this was based on a true story, this movie. But The StepFather is incredible. When you watch this movie, it's going to look like an 80s film. People are obviously dressing in what would be considered at that time modern clothing, modern style, but it's not one of those movies that's so over the top 80s. It has this feeling of timelessness to it. It's 80s enough to where, like, you know it's from that time, but like there's something about this movie that you're not focusing on the decade. You're focusing on the story. You're focusing on the performances, which are all incredible. Terry O'Quinn as the StepFather, I can't imagine anybody else doing this role. He was so good as the StepFather, and his moments of losing it. It's an interesting story because you almost feel for him a little bit. He has this idea of the perfect family he wants, but because of his troubled past and the things he's doing, stuff always comes unraveled, and then his only way to continue is like, well, I gotta kill these people and move on. So, you know, we're basing the story around the new family he's with, And the cast in this was really good. Jill Schoelen and Shelley Hack are in this. So, yeah, it's a great setup for a movie. And, man, what's so interesting about this movie is there's so oftentimes it's a mystery. What's going on? Who's the killer? What's going on? But the fact that we see the opening scene of this movie where Terry O'Quinn has murdered this family, and he's up in the bathroom cutting his hair, changing his appearance, and he walks out the front door and moves on, that shot of the movie will haunt you. Because when you see the bodies in the living room, it looks like it was a horrifying scene. It really is troubling. I'm going to shut up about this movie now. You've heard me talk about it now. Clearly, I love it. I think it's a 5-star movie. I think it's one of the best performances of the decade. This 4K is great. This is such a authentic, true 4K restoration. There's no additives done to this. There's nothing... no Jaws 3 to this in any sort of way. If you don't know that reference, basically the Jaws 3 was all AI'd and stuff like that. No, this is a completely authentic 4K. The thing about this movie, though, like I said earlier, this movie is shot in such this authentic way. When Terry's walking through the house, when he's going through, because he's a real estate agent, he's showing people through houses, it's very natural. There's no studio lights in this house to make everything bright. He's walking through a hall. It's dim. And that doesn't make the picture look bad, but obviously when you're watching 4Ks, you're looking for beautiful daytime shots. You're looking for this super, super clarity. So I would say this is a great 4K, and it's as good as it could possibly be, and it does look incredible, especially when we're seeing the outdoor scenes and stuff. But just keep that in mind when we're watching a movie that is truly shot in an authentic way. It's not overly lit. It's not overly done. You're going to notice a huge jump from the previous Blu-ray for sure. And I think most people will enjoy this restoration too, and I think you're going to be like, wow, like this is the real deal. So I did love this 4K, but I just don't think it's going to be in people's top 5s is what I'm getting at. That's all I'm trying to say, but it's not like it's not done well. It's done as good as it could possibly be. It's more so a comment on the way it was made. So just know you're going to watch a movie that does not look, this big Hollywood movie. You're seeing almost this voyeuristic looking movie that's dark and gritty. Not like it's hard to see, but just authentic. That's what I'm getting at. So the picture quality and audio in this was great. I believe this had the 5.1 as well. It did not have the Dolby audio, which I think is something people are kind of wanting. Yeah, this is the 5.1. So no Dolby audio, but this is the thing I give credit to this release for. I could have seen Scream Factor being like, look, we did this great making of for the 2012 release. We're going to put that back on there. What else could we get? But I'm going to give them credit here because I feel like they are listening a little bit more and they're hearing our voices. And hey, a lot of your customers are repeat customers. Give us something to sink our teeth into. So they got new audio commentaries on here. Let's look at the back of this and we'll talk about it right now. All right, so on the disc one, we've got the 4K restoration presented in Dolby Vision, audio commentary with Joseph Rubin, new audio commentary with Jill Schoelen and filmmaker Jackson Stewart, new audio commentary with film critic Megan Navarro, new audio commentary with film critics Keir Gomes. On disc 2, we have a new 4K restoration as well, and of course the Blu-ray looks sensational. We have the audio commentary with Joseph Rubin, we have the new audio commentary with Jill and Jackson Stewart, the new audio commentary with Megan Navarro, as well as Keir Gomes. This is what's cool. New, Phantom of the Family, interview with Jill Schoelen. So the thing about that is, there's a special feature after that called the StepFather Chronicles, where they made this big, glorious making of, which is damn near feature length. But I really appreciate that we got Jill back because she's got a different perspective now. This was 10 years later that this is, or 12 years later that this is coming out. So now she's able to talk more about, her experience on the film, the way she sees it now, and I appreciate that. And that was probably about 12, 15 minutes in length, so, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I do like that we have that, because, to me, it's the effort that I appreciate a lot. But that legacy feature, the StepFather Chronicles, you'll love that, because that's where you're going to learn a lot about the genesis of the film, how it got made, how they were making it, and that sort of thing. So, this is a great release. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a great release, and I think a lot of people are going to get this for the first time. And I think when you talk about movies from the 80s, you have moments where you'll talk about 80s movies, and then you'll talk about great movies that happen to be from the 80s. The StepFather is a great movie that happens to be from the 80s. It's not defined by its decade, it's defined by its quality. And that's the way I want people to talk and remember the StepFather. It's just that damn good. So guys, there you have it, the StepFather. 2-disc, you know how it is. It's all basic, the same thing. I mean, different art on the discs. No reversible art, which just doesn't happen anymore. But there you have it, guys. Pick this up. I'm telling you, if you don't have this, you haven't seen this, you're going to love this. It's a masterpiece. Your old pal CHH, guys. God bless you. Take care. I'll see you next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.